Hi, welcome to my studio and this informal chat in which I'm just going to give you some thoughts about The Lost Colony, my new album released on the 10th of May, although I'm aware that it was a week or so late. So I know that some of you have been emailing wondering where it had got to, but hopefully if you're watching this you've had a chance to listen to the album, and I certainly hope you've enjoyed it. And I hope you enjoy the exclusive additional material which I made available for the first couple of hundred pre-orders. Okay, The Lost Colony, based on a sci-fi novel written by the American novelist Matt Howarth, who some of you may be aware of. He's written various novels. And he's also done some liner notes and some graphics for Klaus Schulze albums. So he sent me this novel back in 2012, in fact, and I really liked it. It was a good read. In fact, back then it was called The Alpha Colony, I think, or maybe just Alpha. But in any event, I read it, really enjoyed it, but at the time I was involved in a number of gigs in the UK and Europe, and it kind of got put on the back burner. And as is often the case with projects, suddenly you find it's 3 or 4 years later and you still haven't done anything. And I remember in about 2016, 2017, talking to Matt and saying, "I'm really sorry, Matt. I'm really interested in this. Give us another year or so to get what was then, I think, Code Indigo gigs and concerts I had in Europe with Caris. So let me get those, clear the decks, get those out of the way, and we'll have a look." So anyway, of course, then we were all hit by COVID, and in 2020 in particular, that did allow me time to focus more on the album. And I should backtrack slightly and say that I had started looking at it in 2018, 2019, and part of my problem was that unlike composing a music soundtrack to accompany visual imagery, here I was composing something that was always going to be my personal interpretation of someone else's written work, and then the reader's vision of that. And it actually took me a while to get my head around what to do. So that it was a project which musically kind of took me out of my comfort zone, if you like. And that's one of the reasons why it took me a while to get my head around it. But eventually I decided, hang on a minute, let's not be too literal in my musical interpretation. And let's try and create musical soundscapes just to create a sense of identity and a narrative, which sounds actually quite obvious. It is very obvious, but sometimes one can overthink these things. I think I did that to begin with. So for those of you that maybe haven't read it yet, a brief synopsis of the novel is, as per Matt, a colony ship lands on a target world to find it's no longer what they were led to expect. Life is very harsh. It's a harsh struggle, a seemingly losing battle against the local environment, and then a glimmer of salvation arises. The colonists must then overcome fatalism and fight to support their hope of survival. So that is in essence what the book's about. So some of the music started in 2019, but most was actually written during 2020. Although, as I said, some was sketched out before. The longer track, 0.5 AU, was actually kind of modular affair, with sections played and recorded separately, some taken from older ideas and kind of pieced together to form the journey's kind of narrative style. And similarly with the very long track, the title track, Lost Colony, that was very much something which was taken from various ideas, various thoughts about the book, about what was going on. And I decided against giving it kind of different titles. I thought, no, let's just let the listener kind of put the thing together with their interpretation of the book, so to speak. Putting together things in a modular way is actually, I find that quite fun, because it throws up unexpected twists and turns in the music, and ensures you don't get bogged down in too much repetition. And I know that a lot of electronic music is about repetition, and that's cool. I don't mind that. But with this, I wanted to keep it moving. I wanted a sense of movement, of different things happening all the time. That was very much how I approached it. Going back to the opening track, 0.5 EU, that comes from scientific study, which suggests that not only are life-sustaining desert planets possible, but they may be more common than Earth-like planets. And the reason behind that prediction is that when modelled, desert planets had a much larger habitable zone than watery planets, and it was also concluded that hot desert planets without runaway greenhouse effects can exist at 0.5 AU around sun-like stars. So, with that scientific knowledge to hand, I thought that was a very relevant title and an unusual title for the opening track. And I knew it would promote questions as well. Another track which has some background history is Desert Theme. And actually that was inspired by a Dr. Richard J. Dumbrell and his interpretation of the oldest piece of known music discovered on a stone tablet in the Syrian city of Ugarit in the 1950s. And it's thought to be this stone tablet, and thus the music written on it, 3,500 years old. So it is purported to be one of the oldest known pieces of music. And a Professor Anna Dravkan-Kilmer, who works as the curator of the Lowy Museum of Anthropology at Berkeley, spent 15 years deciphering these clay tablets. And it's been confirmed that the tablets and what was written on them formed a complete cult hymn. And as I said, it's the oldest preserved song with notation in the world. And it was said by various people that it has revolutionised the whole concept of the origins of Western music. So there you go. But if you get a chance, it's online, the original piece. It's beautifully played. I listened to it a few times, and I just took some ideas and the feel of it, and I just felt it was ideal for like the desert theme. So that's a bit of history behind the desert theme track. Memories of Homeworld is probably the track with the oldest origins, if you don't include Desert Theme, because this was a track I started with Andy Loban some years ago. It just originated from a studio jam. Andy noodling on guitar, as he often does, with the tape left running, and I was doing some stuff around it. And it formed the basis for me, that kind of ideal melancholy, thinking about home, that kind of feel track. So that's the Memories of Homeworld. And I'm often asked about the unusually titled subconscious matter and other indigenous life forms. And this was one of those 3 a.m. composed tracks, and I heaven knows where it came from. It's certainly an unusual one, but I think it works. I was thinking about the churl insectoids and from the planet, so I wanted something unusual, kind of slow creeping but not threatening, and so that's where it came from. Now, strangely, I could not lose this subconscious matter as a title. I don't know where that came from, but it wouldn't leave my head. It just wouldn't go away. And I felt it fitted perfectly with the feel of the music. So in order to, if you like, have it kind of fit with the album, concept of the album, I added the other indigenous life forms, to make it a nice, amusing title to go with a very different track. And I think what I haven't mentioned, Crystal Windsong and Alpha. Now those for me, I think hopefully if you've seen the video, I think you'll agree they work really quite nicely. GB Graham at GB Photo Arts did some nice graphics there. Those two tracks were both just about creating atmospheres. And in fact, I should have mentioned earlier, obviously if you're watching this video, as opposed to listening to the audio, you will be aware that you can see me in the studio, but the backdrop is the videos, the promotional videos. And in fact, as I'm talking, in fact, the Crystal Wind song is actually playing. I just really loved what Graham did here. It was just quite beautiful. And actually, when I've done some FaceTime meetings in recent months, I've actually left this. Sometimes when I've had to leave the room, this has kind of been my screensaver, or whatever you call the saving thing that's on when you do Zooms. Did I say Zooms or FaceTime? I meant Zooms if I didn't. So yeah, Crystal Wind song, it's just lovely and gentle and beautiful the way it works. It's a very improvised track, just like atmospherics, and I was very pleased with that one. As to as Alpha, quite different, a bit darker, a bit more just strange, obviously just to represent, I guess, the kind of deserted parts of Alpha. So both were improvised pieces. Yeah, just messing around with various synths, overlaying different things. And it's probably the whole project was probably the first in a long time where I've used every single synth in the studio, because often you don't do that, or often I don't do that. You know, I might find I use certain synths and some don't get switched on. It just depends. But certainly this one is something where everything has got used, and I'm fairly sure that some people might be looking at what's either side of me and behind me in my little studio. Unfortunately, I have a fixed camera on this occasion, so I can't actually move it around. But I've put it far away so you can at least get a little bit of a view of the side, if not all of it. But for those of you who like to know these things, I can just give you a little bit of a guided tour. In front of me, you can't actually see it, but I have an 88-note weighted Kurzweil PC3, which I've had for years. It's my kind of master keyboard. And then in front of me, also if I pull out, you can probably just see that I've got a Nord Lead 4. And to my right here, there's a montage, Yamaha montage, that provided some of the leads for like Desert Theme, for example, and the fluty sounds. The Korg Prologue here, which again, a lot of improvised sound effects, particularly on 0.5 AU, came from this. And there's actually another story behind the 0.5 AU, because in fact that track started when I was away with friends just prior to lockdown, and I was a week away somewhere in the Lake District, in fact. And I always take a laptop and a synth with me, and in that instance it was my Prophet Rev 2, and a lot of that track was actually composed and improvised on the Rev 2, or at least that got it started. But unfortunately, we had a bit of a problem with the drive and lost the complete arrangement for that. Fortunately, we had actually virtually finished and had the track mastered. Otherwise, we would have, well, I don't know how I would have felt, because that was such a cool track, I thought, to have lost it all. But unfortunately, the only thing, I couldn't quite do some of the final tweaks I would like to have done, but you know, that's probably only me that would notice those things. Getting back to the synths here, you probably can't see it. There's a JP8000 here, which I've had for years, love that, and up here is a Moog. Over the back here is my trusty old JD800, and over this side, and I actually don't think you can really see that, there's a Roland Jupiter 80, which those of you who've seen me live will know that's always with us live, as is always the Prophet Rev 2, which is at the top here. I have a couple of other things like XP30s and a couple of other things which aren't plumbed in, which I no longer use. And a plethora of soft synths which include Omnispheres, which I use sparingly now. I use the Yuhi Zebra 2 and Diva quite a lot. Some of the Rob Pappen soft synths like Blade are very useful. And yeah, I think yeah, that's about it synth-wise. I think there might be one or two other soft synths I use occasionally. The Mematron I use, but I tend to find that has such great emulations on the Kurzweil that that usually suffices. That's all run through. I have 3 monitors here in front of me, screen monitors running through. Sound that comes through Genelex. I run everything through. I've got a couple of Unitary Magic unitors which run all the MIDI for the synths through an RME 882 audio interface and a Ferrofish A16 ADAT, a couple of lexicons, reverbs. So yeah, so that's where everything goes and comes through. Have a nice little lighting thing which we have set up when we do live things in the studio, which we haven't done for a while, and we do plan to actually try and get something done live wise in the coming months. I've been saying that for a year, but it always seems to be something like finishing albums to do. And those of you who know Al the Alien, he comes to all the gigs. He's quietly in the corner. I'm not sure what he's listening to at the moment. It's probably won't be my album. He says he's sick to death of it. Obviously he's here all the time. There you go. That's it really. It's kind of a little chat about the album. I hope you have found it interesting. Just to recap, those of you who have pre-ordered will be seeing this. If you've got the CD, you'll know that there are 7 tracks on the CD, plus the audiobook. Those of you who've downloaded will know that you've got 7 tracks plus 3 bonus tracks. And those bonus tracks also appear on the exclusive material, along with some additional tracks, including a couple of completely new unreleased pieces, which I hope you will enjoy. And there are also, as I said, the videos, promotional videos, plus this little video of me chatting away from the studio, looking suitably unkempt, unshaven. But hey, I hope you found it interesting. I hope you enjoy the album. I look forward at some point to seeing all of you live, whether it be in the UK, in Europe or in the USA. I think the latter is unlikely in the next couple of years, if I'm perfectly honest. The way things are, even Europe, certainly for the next year, is not looking great, thanks to Brexit, but we won't go there. But hopefully at some point in the UK, there may be some live gigs, even if we don't reinstate the Eastgate festivals. There may well be something from the studio live, with multi-cameras, I hasten to add, which we do have facilities for. That's it from me. As I said, I hope you will all look after yourself, look after those that you love, and take the greatest of care in these strange times. I feel that this all still has a way to go yet, the COVID business. So yeah, stay safe, look after yourself, enjoy the music, and I look forward to hearing from you via email, Facebook or whatever. Yeah, cheerio.